Hey, what's going on, guys? I wanted to make a video talking about Battlefield 1 and whether or not it'll be competitive, what the game modes are, what guns people are going to use, what classes, the status of Battlefield as a whole for competitive, and also what we can do to improve the competitive scene, make it grow a little bit. And I just want to, preface this by saying this is only going to be like 5v5 North America only. I'm not really going to touch into like 12v12 or Europe stuff because that's all completely different than what I have done, so let's get right into it. So let me just talk about the release of Battlefield 1 and where it's at right now. I actually think this is probably the best game, at least the best Battlefield game that's come out since probably Bad Company 2, I think. I haven't had any crashes. The game runs a little hard on my computer just because I have only 8 gigs of RAM. I think if I upped it to 16 it would run a lot better. But other than that, the game runs really well, the guns work properly, there's no glitches in the game really, and it just runs smoothly. Like, I don't have any complaints about the stability of the game, netcode, anything like that. So with that being said, a competitive scene really needs a stable game to thrive. Like, it's not going to work if there's netcode issues, if the game's constantly crashing, if servers are crashing, or if like guns don't reload, things like just weird things like that, and I haven't experienced any of that in this game. I think DICE finally, for once, got a game that works good at launch, and if they improve this game like they did BF4, like the amount that they improved it, I think it would be a really damn good game. So one of the things that I think was majorly improved in this game was the spectator mode, and with the way that they changed how you track players in third person and what you can do with the cameras, and just, you'd have to go watch a video specifically on spectator mode to actually see the new changes. And I think with what they've done, it'll provide better content for the spectators who are watching matches, and I think it'll be more fun for the casters who are casting the matches. And if we kind of snowball this a little bit, the better this stuff is produced as far as the casts go and tournament coverage, the more people are going to see the tournaments and see what you can do with Battlefield, and the more people are going to want to play tournaments and make their own teams and try to join teams. I mean, that's really where Battlefield is now. I mean, it's dead, and we really need more people, and I think that with the new spectator mode and the potential casters now have, I think that it can really help grow the game. Alright, so let's talk about the game mode for competitive play. Now, like I said earlier, 5v5 only. I think that domination is actually going to be the game mode, and I know a lot of people are kind of upset about this just because I don't think anyone really liked domination in BF4. Like, it was so bad that DICE was forced to make a new game mode specifically for competitive play because domination was absolutely horrible. So the way domination works in BF1 is similar to Conquest Small from BF3. Now, it's kind of weird unless you've actually played it, but the way this works is if your team has a flag, like let's say your team has B, you always are going to spawn near B or another flag that your team controls. Like, there's no more spawning randomly on the map. Like, you're not going to spawn next to the enemy's flag. Like, that's not going to happen. The enemy's flag is where the enemy is going to spawn. So now it's possible to actually cap 2 flags and set up a hold on those 2 flags, and the enemy is never going to spawn in your area. Like, they're never going to spawn at your flag to shoot you in the back and all this random bullshit that nobody liked in the BF4 domination. So with that being said, it plays out almost exactly like Conquest Small, but the only difference is there's no like base spawns. Like, there's no like British and German spawn bases like the ones you always have. It's just the flag. So if you don't control any flags, I think at that point it'll spawn you randomly, but if you have a flag, it'll always spawn you at that flag. So it's possible to spawn trap people, it's possible to make a hold, and it's possible to actually develop some advanced strategies that aren't going to be just random team rushing to a flag like it was in BF4. So the last thing I want to talk about as far as what BF1 will be in competitive play is the classes. And since BF3, we've always had medics dominate the competitive scene. Like, there's hardly ever been any engineers, and that's only the rare exception if you need to blow something up with like an RPG. Like, let's say there's a wall or a window or something that gives the other team the advantage at the start of a match, you just blow it up that way. It's not an issue. But after that, it's medics, just straight up medics. In this game, I think Assault's going to be a lot more important. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what teams run Assault, or what teams run a certain amount of Assault guys. I think medics are going to be more of a support role where they get the picks from afar and help the assault guys out, and then they come in and give the revives if their assault guys die, okay? I think that's how it's going to work. I think that would probably be the smartest way to do it. You know, have your assault guys go in to get the entry frags, and then have your medics come in and clean it up, because after the assault guys, you know, light them up, the medics are only going to need like 1 or 2 bullets to kill the other team. So I think that's what it'll be. Mostly assault, a couple medics to support, and it'll be a little bit more interesting, I think. So the last thing that I would like to touch on a little bit is the state of the scene and maybe how we can grow it a little bit. Right now in North America, there's like no competitive teams actually playing. I think there's like 15 teams, maybe 20 if you really want to push it. And out of those teams, maybe only 4 actually like a high-level North American team. The rest are just kind of doing it for the lulz. No offense to anybody, but that's just the reality of it. So we need to grow the scene, and I think one of the best ways we can do that is, you know, doing like a higher production level in the casts. Now, the casts are what's going to show casual players, the people that play in like regular public servers all day, you know, what you can do in Battlefield. And if they can see some really high quality casts and they can actually get into the competitive game, they might take some interest in it and actually make their own team with their friends or join a team or do something. So I want to kind of take a step back to BF3, the early BF3, back when Dascro was first doing casts for Squad Rush. And if you haven't seen any of these videos, I really encourage you to go back and watch Dascro's videos, because they're actually like really good compared to the casts that we've had recently. And no disrespect to the current casters by any means, they're doing what they can and, you know, taking time out of their busy days to do this for all of us. But Dascro's casts back in this time were so good. Like, this is where I learned to play, where a lot of people learned to play competitive, because Dascro would go in before every match. He would go in and show a little, like a graphic of the map. He would show all the call-outs. He would say, alright, this is where teams usually go, this is where teams usually smoke, this is what this is. And he would actually explain the basics of the game before every match that he casted. And this is how the casual players are going to understand what's going on, because if you've got a caster who doesn't explain those things and he's just naming things, and the people who are actually the casual players don't know what the hell they're talking about, they can't really follow along and they don't understand what's going on other than, oh, that guy got a kill. Okay? So I think doing what Dascro did and showing a graphic of the map, showing what people actually tend to do, what teams are strong in certain situations. And another thing, speaking of the teams, is the casters should bring in players or even the whole team after a winning game and say, hey, how did you guys pull off that win? How did you guys feel during that game? How did you guys think the other team did? Do you guys know what you could improve on for the next game? Like, little interviews like that I think are going to help the casual players who don't have any clue who the teams are and who the players are kind of get to know them and maybe develop a little bit of a personal connection to them, and then they're more inclined to actually watch more competitive matches. They're like, oh, I know that guy, I want to watch his match. So you're actually developing a little bit of a fan base, and I think those two things are really important. The second thing that's going to grow the competitive scene is having major leagues actually like hosting events. Back early BF4, when it first came out, the biggest thing that I think killed the game, other than, you know, not counting the game not working at launch, was CEVO actually dropping the game. CEVO used to host the biggest seasons for Battlefield, and they dropped the game, and after that it was just a huge downward spiral. And I'll admit it was on a little bit of a downward spiral before CEVO dropped it, just because the game didn't work. But once CEVO dropped, man, it was like jumping off a cliff. Like, it just an instant, you know, drop in the amount of people that are actually playing. They're like, you know what, there's no events for it, screw it. And what came of that was you have these little night cups that little like clans would host every week, and you could play in those, which, to be honest with you, people aren't going to play and put time into developing a team and working with a team and practicing if there's nothing in it for them. Like, they're not going to do it for some little night cup that doesn't pay out anything. And it's sad that most people need a prize to be able to play, but that's the reality of it. So I think if ESL, CEVO, and all those guys can actually you know, provide events, provide some kind of prize, or, you know, anything really, I think it'll be really beneficial to the scene. Last but not least, We need people to actually play. Like, it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what any of the major casters say or YouTubers say, and it doesn't matter what anyone says. That it comes down to people actually playing the game. If people enjoy the game and they want to play it and they want to host tournaments, it'll grow. And you know, doing everything in your guys' power to actually help the game grow is what's going to help the game grow. Like, it's not a matter of it just happens to be big, you know, that's not how it works. So people just need to play the game, and hopefully a competitive scene will come about. I would really like to see that. I kind of miss playing competitively. It's been kind of boring playing video games with just playing pub players because they're not, they're not really a challenge. So I would like to see it come back. In my opinion, I don't think it's gonna ever be back to where it was back in like BF3 at its height. With like, there was so many teams that you could play back then, but I don't think BF1's gonna get there. I have my doubts about it just due to the past 3 Battlefield titles, how they've kind of played out. But other than that, I think it's a good public game. You know, if you want to come on, just have some fun, shoot some people, I think it'll be good for that. But I don't really see a competitive future coming out of it. So don't like quit your job and try to make it to ESL 1 because it's not going to work. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully I gave some good insights. If you have any questions or any suggestions, leave it in the comments and I might make a video on it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.